Thanks for watching News 12 on your side.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, First at 5.
A family suing the GBI and other agencies for $1 billion. It's over their son's suspicious death. We'll break down what we know coming up.
But first, multiple sources telling our I-Team 2 deputies have been fired and 2 more have been demoted.
Right, this following 2 different incidents at the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. The highest ranking deputy fired, Captain Brandon Beckman. He is a more than 20-year veteran and member of Sheriff Richard Roundtree's command staff. Independent sources, multiple ones, tell our I-Team he was fired for lying about questions about an inappropriate relationship with investigator Allison Allie Walker. Sources tell our I-Team she was fired too. Again, not for an inappropriate relationship, but for lying about it. We're told Walker provided names of others involved. We have requested those documents.
Our I-Team has also learned 2 others have been demoted in relation to a separate incident, Sergeant Anari Herbert and Corporal Melissa Allen. Now, our I-Team started requesting records about this Monday, but we're told the case is still open. We know, Meredith, you're digging deeper, and we'll have more information on this tonight at 6 o'clock.
Happening now, a tractor trailer overturned on Mike Paget Highway. This is near the Time Saver and Flipping Egg. It happened right around 4 o'clock or so this afternoon. No injuries are reported, but the right lane is blocked, so you might want to find another route if you can avoid the area.
Well, another day with beautiful conditions across the region. We did see a good bit of clouds start to move in this afternoon. This is the current view over Aiken County, to where it actually is fairly, we'll call it mostly cloudy, partly cloudy in a few other spots that are seeing just a few peaks of sun. But most locations are staying in the low 80s again this afternoon, so several degrees below average for us this time of year. Low humidity, we got a light east wind, generally less than 10 miles an hour, and most spots are at least hitting 80 out there this afternoon. Taking a look at our current wind speeds, staying less than 10 for most spots, and generally out of the east. What's going to be changing in our forecast the next couple of days is that our wind is going to be getting a little bit breezier out of the northeast. That will start Thursday and continue at least through Saturday. But any evening plans, we're just going to hang on to these clouds, and temperatures should just gradually fall through the 70s and 60s once we do get over the next several hours. So not too bad out there. Staying dry if you do have any outdoor plans. Low temps tonight with the clouds should stay in the mid 60s, so a mild start to our Thursday. Have a look at those gustier conditions heading our way in just a bit, but let's get a quick update on your First Alert traffic.
And now, First Alert traffic.
All right, live look over I-20, and this is exit 190 there in Grovetown. We are looking at just kind of the steady flow of traffic off the exit here at Lewiston Road, just a little bit backed up. And you can see the same thing overhead here in Columbia County, a little bit more blue sky than what we just had over there in Aiken, but looking at gorgeous weather across the region. Just watch out for a little bit of sun if you're driving westbound.
All right, thanks, Riley. But today, Augusta city leaders sat in the same room to tackle panhandling issues, something they tried to address for more than a decade now. But the last time they updated the city's ordinance was in 2006.
A long time ago. The plan today focused on adopting an ordinance like Columbia County. But city attorneys say a policy applying county-wide like Columbia County's would be unconstitutional. Now, Craig Allen. Commissioners want to crack down on, but it seems like they might have to find another direction.
That's right. Augusta's most recent ordinance from 2006 makes panhandling legal just behind me here in the Broad Street District and down the street over at the Armstrong Galleria Shopping Center. But across the street here and all across the county, city attorneys say that it could be a violation of freedom of speech laws. Now, staff attorney Sam Meller spoke on behalf of both the city and the sheriff's office today. He says a similar ordinance to Columbia counties in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, was struck down in the past decade. He fears the same could happen to Augusta and says Augusta city leaders need to look elsewhere to handle this problem.
It's a very, 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 very narrow hole that this ordinance can pass through to be considered constitutional, considering that the First Amendment law has been changed very drastically since 2015.
Now, I spoke with a representative from Columbia County, and they say they're more than willing to defend their current ordinance and that it is constitutional. And all new on News 12 at 6 o'clock, I'll be taking a deeper dive into alternative solutions that Richmond County leaders could take on.
All right, thank you, Craig. This is an issue many of us have experienced driving on some of Augusta's busiest roads. So, of course, we'll be following this as leaders discuss their options.
Absolutely. Thanks for that update, Craig. We're learning more about a $1 billion lawsuit filed by a Georgia family over their son's death. 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson died 10 years ago in the gym of a high school in Valdosta. His body was found in a rolled-up gym mat. Investigators with the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office determined Kendrick's death was an accident, but to this day, the Johnson family claims that he was murdered. Yesterday, the Johnson family filed the $1 billion lawsuit against the GBI and the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office. It accuses the agencies of inconsistencies in the investigation, specifically related to the medical examiner's report. The GBI and the Sheriff's Office have 20 days left to respond to the lawsuit filing.
In Marietta, Georgia, a community mourning the death of a 16-year-old girl after a deadly crash. Investigators say Monday evening, Liv Terravino was in a vehicle that crashed into a tree and then caught on fire. Her teammates say it happened on her way home from a cross-country practice. She's being remembered as a loving person who had her whole life ahead of her. Students gathered in the parking lot of Marietta High School to pay their respects.
Liv Teverino was the sweetest, most caring individual I've ever met in my entire life. I have known her since I was about 4 years old, and I couldn't name a single person who ever had a crossword to say about her.
No word yet on what caused the crash. An investigation is ongoing. Significant changes to the high school sports landscape in South Carolina could be coming from the State House. A lot of South Carolinians with an interest in high school sports believe the playing field just isn't fair right now, especially when some of the state's public charter schools are on the field.
And here at home, we spoke to the head coach of Silver Bluff High School, who says it often feels like the postseason has been decided before the brackets are put out. Our State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
Last week, the House Ad Hoc High School Athletics Committee met for the first time and heard from the commissioner of the South Carolina High School League. On Wednesday, here at the State House, it was the public's turn to weigh in.
We can't go somewhere else and pull a kid in, and because we lose a good pitcher, we can't just go get another pitcher. We have what we have.
Some South Carolinians say public charter schools like Gray Collegiate Academy and Oceanside have become too dominant. But others say not every student is getting the opportunity to compete in sports, as some traditional public schools forfeit games against their charter school competition as an act of protest.
We are right now prohibiting our children at Gray from competing at a competitive level because adults can't get along.
Several bills have already been filed, including ones that would create a new governing body for high school sports under the State Department of Education that would require charter and private schools move up classifications and play against larger traditional public schools, and that would restrict charter schools' postseason participation. Some students from a Rock Hill private school spoke in favor of legislation that would allow them to play sports at their local public school because their school is too small to field teams.
All we are asking is to have the same eligibility that homeschoolers and charter school students have to try out for their zone middle school or high school team.
There's no deadline for this committee to submit its recommendations, but they are hoping to have some proposals to present by the time the new legislative session begins here in January. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
And the chair of this committee says they plan to take more public testimony soon. Well, take a look at this wild video out of Atlanta here. A natural gas leak causing a major fire at a gas station near Atlanta Metro College. You can see these cars are just charred there on the street. The fire is reportedly under control now. No injuries being reported. And reports say the leak was caused by a tractor who's digging at the site there. You can see fire officials there trying to put out that fire quickly. It's just crazy that no one was injured too with that vehicle right there in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
Crazy video.
You don't see a lot of smoke even. It's
No.
just like those bright orange flames.
Yeah, and a lot of other things around there were also on fire, so glad that they got that
Yikes.
under control quickly.
After a season-ending injury, one NFL player is seeing widespread community support, and it's coming from his hometown. We'll have that and more coming up. Riley?
And the National Hurricane Center has actually increased the odds of this system becoming a named system just off the southeast coast. We'll see how it will impact us here locally just after the break.
Violence on the field last week is the reason why some won't be playing this week. What families in the Georgia High School Association have to say about it, all new on News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Time and temp.
Welcome back, folks. A live look over North Augusta from our downtown Augusta campus. This is looking across the river and just a beautiful day out there. We're looking at partly cloudy skies and temperatures are holding steady in the low 80s for most locations. Just light east, southeast wind staying less than 10 miles an hour out there for the rest of this afternoon. Temperatures going to remain comfortable for us if you're heading out this evening. We should stay in the 70s the next hour or two, and then we'll drop into the 60s once that sun goes down. And it looks like our low temps tonight should stay in the mid 60s, so not quite as cool as what we've seen so far this week. Here's our setup on our First Alert radar network. We have high pressure north of us. That's what's bringing us a light east wind and keeping us dry at the moment. But what we're going to have to monitor is actually an area of low pressure that forms along that stalled front south of us. So once that area of low pressure does work its way off the Georgia coast, it's going to start interacting with those really warm ocean temperatures and try to develop. And actually, this is kind of the latest look of it. You can see by around Friday afternoon, this is just off the Carolina coastline, still producing some very heavy rain across coastal Carolina and South and North Carolina. Some of that pushes inland, but right now it looks like we will stay dry here locally. The main impact we're going to see from this system is that it's just going to be a little bit breezy, but with the way the system is oriented, it's going to really pick up our northeast wind, so that's going to draw down some even drier air, and temperatures will remain cooler than average all the way through the weekend. Here's a look at how fast our wind speeds are expected to get tomorrow afternoon. So Thursday, looks like they'll pick up anywhere from 8 to 12, a little bit stronger the closer you get towards the coastline. Same thing Friday, our eastern and southern counties will have those strongest winds. But for us here in Augusta, it looks like our sustained winds will stay generally between, say, 15 to 18 miles an hour. That will be Friday. So Friday is looking like our gustiest day, to where not only will our wind speeds be sustained on the breezier side, but maybe seeing some gusts over 20. And then even into our Saturday, doesn't look like that wind's going to calm down too much. So just really the only main impact is that we're going to see the trees flapping around a little bit more. It is going to be a gustier day. You'll see some trash on the roadway blowing around, but other than that, no major impacts for us. But it does look like Friday is going to be just a little bit gustier than what we're expecting for our Thursday. Heading into the weekend, Saturday is the official first day of fall, and it's actually going to feel like it. Our morning temperatures this weekend will be waking up back into the upper 50s, so a little bit cooler outlook there. It looks like we should stay mostly dry until we get to next week between Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, thanks for that, Riley. A hometown football hero suffering a season-ending injury. Cleveland Browns running back and former UGA Bulldog Nick Chubb is recovering tonight after a terrible knee injury. But many people who know the former Dog and Polk County native say there's no doubt he will make a comeback.
Adam Murphy shows us how the community is standing behind the player as he recovers.
In the small town of Cedartown, 72 miles northwest of Atlanta, this quaint community is home to the voice of Winnie the Pooh, the Museum of Coca-Cola Memorabilia, and hometown hero Nick Chubb.
Because he is such a good example for everybody in this community, everybody hurts when he hurts.
Scott Hendricks is principal at Cedartown High School. He coached Chubb on the football field more than a decade ago and was devastated to learn of Nick's season-ending leg injury on Monday night.
I just got up and walked out of the room when I saw it, and you know, it's a gut punch. It made me physically have a reaction to that, just because I know what he has invested in what he's done to get to that point.
Chubb's rise to stardom nearly ended at the University of Georgia when he injured the same knee, but it was his work ethic that helped him overcome and ultimately become one of the great running backs in the National Football League.
When challenged, he's always met challenges.
Through it all, Chubb is no stranger to his roots. He trains at Cedartown High during the offseason and even purchased the school mascot named Chubb.
He's an old soul. He's a throwback football player, and I know people have labeled him that, but that's what he is.
Coach Mike Worthington knows Chubb as well as anyone and has no doubt he will rehab and return, God willing.
I just want him home. You know, I can't really love him from that distance. I know it's sad. I'm like, just get my boy home so we can take care of him and love him.
Adam Murphy, Atlanta News First.
And Nick Chubb is in Cleveland with his family. His father says that Nick is obviously disappointed in the way that things went down. You just hate to see players get injured like that on the field, and we're wishing a quick recovery for him as well.
We sure are. Phone scams, they are all too common. And one of the latest ones involves fraudsters impersonating two large phone companies. Coming up, the red flags you need to look out for so you don't become a victim.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Lexus Acura Cadillac.
Showing how you feel.
Imposter scams have become one of fraudsters' go-to schemes for defrauding victims. Now, the latest scheme involves impersonating Xfinity or Comcast, with the scammer telling customers a discount is ending, but in reality, it's a ploy to steal money.
A big one in this Watching Your Wallet. Consumer investigator Carice Jackman spoke with the Better Business Bureau about how the signs you should look out for in this latest phone scam.
Hi there.
It's a call that oftentimes comes out of the blue.
This call is to remind you that Comcast Xfinity will be canceling the 50% discount offer, which was not applied on your account.
A voicemail purportedly from a legitimate business.
In order to avail the discount right now and save monthly bills, please call back at...
When in reality, it's a scam.
Impersonation has always been a common and effective tactic used by scammers because a lot of folks don't have relationships with folks at these organizations.
This automated fraudster is becoming more common, according to Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau.
This one in particular is very convincing because it's not asking you to pay everything you have in cryptocurrency, right? It's not asking for a strange form of payment. It's merely asking for you to, I believe, pick up the phone and make a phone call. That in and of itself is a little bit innovative, right? Because a lot of scammers are interested in the quick payout and not necessarily in prolonging the experience or asking the consumer to jump through an additional hurdle. We're seeing more and more of these steps to legitimize the process.
If the intended victim returns the call, the scammer will then ask for payment. Comcast isn't the first company that's had to deal with this kind of imposter scam. Fraudsters have impersonated many different businesses and even federal agencies. So far this year, there have been nearly 400,000 imposter scams reported to the Federal Trade Commission. Plano says that's why it's important you know how to spot the red flags. The main one, a voicemail telling you they're canceling a discount you've never heard of before. Also, anytime you get a call where the person is asking you to use a specific form of payment, beware.
And some of the reports that we have seen with regard to Comcast or this type of scam masked by Comcast, they are asking for things like prepaid debit cards and wire transfers, which are very rarely used, if ever, and nearly always are a sign that you should tread carefully and proceed with caution.
Also, be sure to check the company's website. Legitimate companies like Comcast often share what common scams are out there and how you can protect yourself.
They're looking to, hide behind the facade of a reputable organization. So it's a little counterintuitive, but in some ways this is like a testament to Comcast's success as a company. But of course, the company in question wants this situation to go away just as much as the consumer does.
Thank you, and have a great day.
So the next time you get a voicemail claiming to be from a company, do your research and think twice before calling back. Carice Jackman on your side.
Another common scam like this is caller ID spoofing. It's where fraudsters manipulate the caller IDs to make people think the call is from a legitimate company. Xfinity says always be cautious about providing personal information over the phone.
Well, another invasive hornet nest spotted in Georgia today. The Georgia Agriculture Commissioner announcing that the discovery and destruction of a second yellow-legged hornet next to Wilmington Island near Savannah. Now, the first nest in the entire country was found in Savannah about a month ago. This invasive species targets and eats bees, which are crucial pollinators.
Without honeybees and pollinators, you can't have watermelons. There are over 100 different crops across the country that require pollination by pollinators. And so this hornet is a predator of those pollinators.
And right now, scientists are researching the hives and hornets to make sure they're eradicated and find out where they came from. No word yet on how the hornets were introduced to our country, but since they're from Asia and Savannah is a port city, it's believed that they may have hitched a ride there. Riley?
Well, looking ahead to our weekend forecast, we do look mostly dry Saturday and Sunday, and temperatures will be just a few degrees below average for this time of year. Now look at that 7 day just after the break.
Davis Appliance on Deansbridge Road has the best deals in town for any budget. Open box, refurbished, scratch and dent, and new appliances at the lowest prices around. For the top brands at the lowest prices, visit Davis Appliance on Deansbridge Road.
I'm attorney Ken Nugent.
Looking at your accounts to maximize your earnings or to protect your money.
Davis on Deansbridge is your one-stop shop for all things furniture and appliance. Sectional sofa sets, bedroom suites, fireplaces, TVs, and more. We also offer no credit needed financing and delivery right to your front door. For the top brands at the lowest prices, visit Davis Appliance and Furniture.
Welcome back, folks. This is a look westbound down I-20 from our Grovetown cam, showing this high-level cloud cover starting to move into most of our Georgia counties, but we are staying dry. Temperatures are remaining in the low 80s for most locations this afternoon, and a light southeast wind staying less than 10. But the wind will be picking up tomorrow afternoon, and that will continue through at least Saturday, late into the day, but we're just going to hang on to a few clouds this evening into the overnight. I would say most of us do stay dry. Our in-house model has been pretty consistent at showing maybe the potential for a quick morning shower tomorrow. It doesn't look to be a huge threat for most of us, though. We should be able to see a few more peaks of sun by tomorrow afternoon. That northeast wind will be pretty steady, potentially up to around 10 to 15 miles an hour, and seeing that wind just kind of increase throughout the day Friday. And Friday, for the most part, does remain dry for us here in Augusta. You can see some of our eastern counties may be able to see a shower. The majority of that rainfall from that system will stay off the coastline for us. Now, as we head into our weekend, we are looking at sunshine Saturday and Sunday. Those temperatures look to remain below average all the way through early next week. Stick with us. We're going to have much more on Live 5 just after a quick break.
This is not you.
It's not me.
Real